Growing up in a border town to a reservation was a very difficult thing as a child in the 70s and early 80s. I kind of felt like I was walking in two worlds and I wasn't quite sure which world I belonged in. Turned out in the end I belonged in both worlds. I was married for about 20 years. As the stay-at-home mom and the wife, I packed his lunch basket every day and unpacked it every night when he came home from work. And after about a year, the lashing around the rim broke. And it was in that moment that I realized, I don't know what happened, but something inside of me woke up. And I thought, you have to make a basket. I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. I didn't know that this was going to be my life, my career, my passion. It was not very beautiful or refined, but back then I loved it. I loved that connection I felt. Myself and my siblings were not necessarily brought up with ceremony, culture, language, tradition, hunting, fishing, or gathering. So those were things that I had to learn in my early 20s. I had to find my way back to that path, which I did. And so we built a little cabin out there on the reservation, and that's where we decided to raise our children so that we could utilize the forest for all of the resources and be super thankful for our treaty rights and raising my children in that way. Growing up in the town of Ashland, I was swimming in the lake every summer. We lived 2 blocks from the shore on the very east side of town. And we would swim on the dock there every year. I would take my children down there to the beaches every summer. And even in the fall and in the spring, we'd walk along the shore. We'd always be looking at rocks and looking at tracks. And that was kind of our second home in the summer. So the materials that we harvested were from the reservation land close by our home, but in the swamps nearby. The way that black ash trees grow, they pack on a good amount of growth in the summertime, and they create this dense, thick ring, which is what is used, the splint, to make the baskets with. And the way that you can get the material from the log itself is through manual labor, pounding of sorts. There's nothing very easy about it. It's time consuming. It can take a few days. I literally have to go out to the forest and walk around in the forest and look at the trees and understand what I'm looking at and get to know the variations of the bark. What do I think might be happening to the heart of that tree before it comes down? There is a connection there that exists that I think if I didn't do it in that capacity or in that way from the beginning, I might not have the same connection to this craft now. Well, the material that I have is material that's been pounded from the ash log previously, then coiled up, rehydrated, because you can't work with material dry, you must rehydrate it. And now I'm cutting all of the lengths that I had into desired widths, which I then will start my next basket with. Yeah, it takes a long time to prep the material. I say, listen, watch, take a humble approach to the craft, to the work that you're about ready to get into, and figure out what your connection is with it. It really makes a big difference in understanding respect and courage and love and bravery and wisdom. So as far as working with other people, what has been shared with me throughout the years is their stories of how it made them feel when they were working on a basket. It's engaging and compassionate and educational, and it's not all about the finished thing. It's about everything that is said and done along the way. When I make baskets, I always start with the center, and I make sure it's what I want and what I need before emanating out from it. And I think that that's a really good lesson for life in general. I'm really looking forward to having my work in the Bad River Museum and other places as well, but especially there because I feel like it's been a long time coming. Being able to really kind of connect with how some of those pieces were made by, ancestors way back when really well. I've seen some stunning, stunning pieces. To be able to replicate that is something that I work towards. And I look forward to Bad River kind of representing on that front. It's time. It's beyond time. It's exciting.
I think one of the main reasons it's so important for us to tell our stories and kind of reclaim our history is because our history has been told by other people for a very long time and hasn't always been accurate. So for us to be able to tell our stories from our perspective in our way is really a part of reclaiming our identity and our sovereignty as a people. It's an honor to really do this work with my community because it really is a rediscovery of some of our history, some of our memory, and some of our identity. This museum is being developed by the community for the community. We really hope to foster relationships with working artists within our community and to be able to show their creativity and their art within the museum as well.
What I hope people take away is their connection to themselves and to the landscape, and that we all have impacts. We all have an impact with our daily decision making as consumers. It's more about living in moderation. I feel like I am a very rich person, not financially, not through money, but through what I know and what I carry and those lessons within myself.